Welcome to this Excel video, and in this Excel video we're going to focus on creating a stock and purchasing system in one. So right now you can see here we have our list of products that are available. Right now we have apples, and we have 34 apples right now available with a total value of $102.65. However, you can see there's a lot of things here. Next, what we have is also our purchase. So we get these values here, and the calculation of this is being calculated in another database, which is our purchase tab. So if you see our purchase tab, you can see all the values here, and these are all our inputs. And this is how you can do your stock control. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this, and then we have the first part, because there's a lot of more things that are going in there. It's more deeper. However, having your first foundation is very important. So the first step is let's make the same thing here. So I'm going to duplicate this almost exactly, and I will ask you to follow along so you have an understanding how to do this. So the first thing what we need is we need 4 items, which is the product ID, the product name, quantity, and amount. And you will notice that this is really useful for many companies that have a small stock, or they work with a lot of stocks, and having this helps you a lot. And then we have the amount of products IDs. I'm going to give it a color, and I'm going to give it on purpose the orange color, because this is our input. And next we have here our formulas. So this will be our output. Always remember, when you are working with a database with stocks, stock control, you probably have a input. You always need to input a product ID. The product ID doesn't have to be a number. Having a number is easy because you can just continuously count it with an incremental counting, or you just give it a ID. That's sometimes also possible. Very common, they call it in companies a SKU, the sales unit or something like that. However, not really that important. As long as you are able to identify your product, that's important. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this here, and say apples, oranges, grapes, lemon, melon, and pear. So once you have this, you have to put in here the quantity. For the quantity, we are not allowed to insert here any quantities. And the reason why, if you hard code a quantity in here, you'll get in trouble. What I mean by that is, if you do this, what will happen is that the moment you add more values and something is changing, it is missing out. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that this part is separately and dynamically being generated eventually. Yes, so we need to calculate here. And the calculation comes from here. Every time you make a new order purchase, the information should be in here. So let's start with this as well. So I'm going to copy this as well. Order ID, purchase date, product ID, quantity, price per piece or per unit. If you are having a thing, I'll just call it per unit in this case, maybe that's better, and amount. So now you have this. So now we're going to add up the order ID or purchasing order. You have like a number. To make it simplistic, I'll just count this, and then it will just incrementally count, auto fill up. You can see here to 29, so the 29 items. Next, what we have here is the purchase date. Probably you will not say, why is the purchase date so often here? This doesn't make any sense. It's true. Normally the purchase date should be one date with multiple values in there. However, for simplicity's sake, I can change this a bit. Let's say 8 June 2018. All right. Then I will just drag this as well, and you see it's going to be incremental. So assuming that we have everyday order of a purchase. Please note that this is not a sale. While this looks slightly a bit like a sale, because normally the quantities will be far higher. So right now here we have the product ID, and I'm going to do a random product ID. So I'm going to use a random formula. Random between 1 and 6. Alright. Just double click on that. I will copy this, and then I will paste this special for values only, so this will not change. Quantity, I will do the same. I will again use a random between. Then I will say quantity. Let's make the quantity larger. Let's say 100, and the highest amount would be 500 units. Double click on this, copy, and then paste special, and we say again here values only. So I'm doing that because if I don't do that, the values are being changed all the time. So you will see if I do this, or if I calculate here. Alright, I guess that's not changing. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it does not. However, having it solid, that's fine. Unit price. So the unit price is an insert because I can imagine that the unit price might change after a while. Maybe the products are going up and down depending on supply and demand, or the supplier has increased the rates. So it's all possible. So for now, I'll just copy all of these here. I'll just paste it in here. Or what you can do, if you want to do random, and this is very important, random, then in this case you cannot use random between. What you need to use here is random only. And then what we say here is random, because what happened, random is a value between 0 and 1. Yes, so you can see here, this is between 0 and 1. So, because I can imagine that you may want to have a price here that is in cents. In this case, we want to have in cents, because the product per piece is maybe is a very small price. So what you have to do here is multiply that by 10, and then you do plus whatever you want to plus. So if the minimum is like $1, you do plus $1. But if you just only say multiple by 10, then it will be just the price of 17 cents. Then you can see, now we have all this. You can see it's random everything, and maybe it's not even multiplied by 10 necessary. If you do random, what we had here, it will go from 1 up till things. If you have like a minimum says minimum is 100, then you have to multiply by 10 and then plus 100. So you increase the rate here, you can see. However, not necessary. And that's really it. So that's the random. So I'll just drag the random here. So we have the rates. You can see everything's here between this value. I'll just copy this value, and then also paste the value special. Okay. So now we have everything. This is our input here. Let's give this a nice orange color. Now let's make the formula. Formula is simple: quantity multiplied by units. Enter, and then just do this, and then of course we will give it a output design. So this is right now the order amounts, and we can see we have here the order for number 2, 6, 1. So this is probably apples, so we have here a lot of apples, and the amount of apples is huge. So this is what we have to do. Now we're almost done here, because now we need to connect them. So how to connect them? First of all, what we want to do is we want to calculate the quantities. To calculate the quantities, we have to use a specific formula, which is the sum if. So basically what you're saying is that we want the apples, or if product ID matches with the quantity, then sum it up. So let's go back here. Well, first of all, let's open our sum if, and then we have to select our range, and we have to select our criteria. So what I will do is I will just open here the formula builder. You can already select the criteria. The criteria in this case is product ID. That's number 1. Secondly, now we have to search for the range. So where can we find the information? If you go in here, we can see here we have the order ID, which is not what we want, but we have here the product ID. That's the one we need. So we have the product ID, quantity, and price unit. So I just select these three. And if we select this, you will see now here that it understands that it is in a new tab called Purchase. So in the Purchase tab, it will open or select the values J2 till L300, L30, sorry. Alright, so once you have that, then the next part is the sum range. And if you click on sum range, it will jump back to the stock, assuming that maybe you need to go somewhere else here. No, in this case, go back to the Purchase tab, and in the Purchase tab, we want to get the sum range, and this is the sum range, the quantities. Saying that everything that has product 1 ID or product ID number 1, add up the quantity here. So once you did that, we're done. And now you see the amount of apples we have is 861. So that's a lot. So we're almost done here. What we want to do now is we want to drag this. And to drag this, what we have to do here is to freeze the cells for now. Let's freeze the cells. And in this case, we need only the ones in the range and the sum range. So we don't need this one. This one needs to be maintained as it is. So let's press F4, F4. Here as well, F4, F4. So you can see the dollar signs. Enter. Nothing changes. However, we just copy this, and now we have the total amount. So now we have the first part. And the next part is exactly the same, only in this case, instead of having the quantity, we need the amount. So what we can do is we just copy this, we just move it here, and we just adjust one item here. This one, instead of G2, we'll just move that to product ID. And now it will say, hey, there's the amount of 861. Of course, this is not correct yet. I'm going to change it to dollars. But this, we need to match up with the right range. So we have the criteria, the sum range. So let's open up our formula builder, and then let's go to the other tab and let's see what happens, because here we might do something, or here. Let's go to Purchase tab, and in the Purchase tab we can see, in the Purchase tab we can just, let's select these items. Alright, so we can just select here. Basically we need is the product ID, quantity, and price per unit. No, sorry, this one is correct. If you look here, it should be this product ID, quantity, and price per unit. And you can even do the amount as well in this case, because the amount will be the one that really matters. And well, the criteria is 1 for apples, but this criteria here should be matched. So we go back here and say count only the amount totals. Done. And now you can see that we have a total value of $457.49. So this is all correct. Let's freeze the cells by pressing F4, 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 enter. And now we just drag this down and see everywhere else same. And this is how you can quickly check and trace your finances. It's very important because in this case here, you want to make sure that this is consistent and you can check everything. And for some reason I see here there's an error here. I don't know why, but I will probably have to check. However, this does not matter because it works here like this. And this is very important. So you now understand this. Once you have a stock tracking, now you know exactly how many is in stock. You need to have one part where you have the sale of the item, and then it should be deducted. And this is really, that will be eventually the next part, but this is the first step, and using the sum if and the count if is a very useful tool for this. So if you like courses and Excel information like these, check out my Udemy course about bookkeeping, stock control, and purchasing. Just click on the link below.